Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I am your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host.
Gab.
And today we are talking about a movie from the Lord's year, 1997. The year of our Lord. The movie Breakdown, starring Kurt Russell. Gab, I'm rolling with this. I'm keeping it going.
Yeah, no, this is gold, please.
We don't stop. Breakdown, which I think was very quickly overshadowed by a movie that came out the same week, Austin Powers.
What?
They came out the same day. The first Austin Powers and Breakdown.
Wait a second, because those two movies feel like they exist in different universes. And I'm not talking about cinematic universes. I'm talking like that movie felt old. And I mean, I guess I haven't seen Austin Powers in like 20 years, but Jesus Christ.
I definitely think it would feel dated by now. But I do think I'm surprised when I hear that too, because they don't feel like they came out at the same time.
No, they feel like worlds apart. Also, Kurt Russell, how old is he in this movie?
Oh, good question. And I think I thought about it when I looked it up. Gab, you say words while I find that out exactly for you. You're not saying a damn thing. He was 46
sorry.
when the movie came out.
Sorry, I didn't realize my brain didn't process that with enough time.
Not even
he was
a little.
46?
Yes.
Is he dead now?
No.
Why do I feel like
he just was in that Apple TV show about Godzilla, Monarch?
Oh, I thought Kate Hudson put out like a tribute to him a couple years ago. Was it his birthday, maybe?
I'm sure he has a birthday every year.
Yeah. But I just feel like Kate Hudson, because he's her stepfather, but he and Goldie Hawn never got married, but they're still together, right?
Yes, as far as I know.
Okay. So basically, yeah. So he's her stepfather, not by marriage, by love. And okay, but I thought maybe he had died. Anyway, the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, we should rewatch The Thing.
I think both of these movies speak to how great Kurt Russell is in general, but we're going to get into that more.
He's so good. He's so handsome.
Gab, why don't you tell me, because we're veering off the tracks, what is Breakdown about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Well, Dylan, very simply, Breakdown is about a married couple on a road trip that experiences a breakdown and then is caught in the crossfire of an evil plot by a group of criminal truck drivers.
What kind of breakdown is it, Gab? Is it an emotional breakdown?
No, it's a vehicular breakdown, Dylan.
Well, let's
vehicular.
See what vehicular. Let's see what IMDb says about it. A man searches for his missing wife after his car breaks down in the middle of the desert.
I was close. I guess so.
There's 3 taglines, and I really like the last one. No one is safe from chance, which that feels like it's more like for the movie 21 or a movie about gambling.
Yeah.
A cross-country trip, an unexpected breakdown, the trap has been set.
I don't
can picture
like
it on the poster, the 3 sentences.
Oh, that's one tagline? Say it again.
A cross-country trip, an unexpected breakdown, the trap has been set.
Yeah, all right.
It's a little bit long, but it's broken into pieces.
Yeah.
And the last one, the one that's literally on my DVD box in the other room, it just says, it could happen to you.
That feels lame and tired.
I really like that because I will tell you, I think what makes this movie, I think if I saw this movie 15 years ago when I'm, oh my God, 16 or 17, then I would not enjoy I wouldn't feel this movie the way that I do now. Because I think this movie, well, I'm going to get into more in the opinions, but I think this is a movie that's very different based on your life circumstances, I shall say.
Okay.
Should we? I feel like we normally like to break down the story a little bit more. I'll break down the story a little bit more. Spoilers.
Oh, side note, speaking of breaking, do you know that breakdancing is going to be in the Olympics?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I'll watch it. Yeah.
Olympic breaking. I saw a meme the other day. Yeah. I saw a meme the other day that said, you can just call yourself an Olympic hopeful. You don't have to fill out paperwork.
I still really like the idea. You've seen that meme about having one normal person in every Olympic event for comparison.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's great.
It's so good.
I'll be the normal person for Olympic breakdancing. It will go terribly. Yeah.
Yeah. But you are the average breakdancer, I would say. The average American's attempt at breakdancing.
I think I would be. Get me a box and I'll show you what I got.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. I would like to give a little bit more information on this movie. There's not a whole lot to say, but I think if you can summarize briefly, it would be of great assistance to listeners.
Gab, I want you to pull out your phone. I want you to put the stopwatch on. You give me 1 minute. You give me 60 seconds. I'll give you the world of Breakdown.
Okay, hold on. I'm really gonna do it. Let me get
Can you do 10-10 wins music?
Yeah, of course. Which, by the way, always makes me think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory whenever they got news on the computer, remember?
Is it the 10-10 wins music?
It's similar.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going in. 3, 2, 1, go.
Breakdown is about a couple that's been together for a long time. They're a married couple. They're moving across the country. They clearly don't have much money. They have a new car and a lot of debt. They are going across the country when somebody nearly runs them off the road, and they pull over to get their bearings, to fill up on gas, to check their liquids and whatever. The car breaks down. He lets his wife go with the trucker because he doesn't want to leave the car. She's going to go up to a diner up ahead. He eventually fixes the car himself, gets to the diner, and realizes his wife's not there, and nobody there has seen his wife, and he catches up with the trucker, and the trucker acts like he's never seen him before, and we have to, for a second, figure out, is Kurt Russell nuts? And by the end, spoiler, Kurt Russell is dealing with a whole bunch of human traffickers and trying to save his wife from them. And do I go super spoilery? Do I just reveal the end here?
I guess so.
Revenge ensues. Revenge and saving ensue.
And time, 54 seconds. Now, in retrospect, that was probably not the best way to fill people in on that movie or any movie. We should probably never do that again, but it worked.
Gave me agita.
The best was they had to check their liquids.
I didn't know what to, fluids. You put Giselle normally checks the fluid.
Liquid was really funny. Yeah. So basically, it's like a kidnap movie. It's a I have to rescue my wife movie. Yeah, I don't think we need to go into any further detail.
What we should go into then is opinions.
Opinions.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
All right, I have a list. My first question is, why do you love CB radios so much? You.
I thought of the connection specifically back to Joyride. I was like, is this kind of similar to Joyride? Like, not really, but kind of.
A little bit. I was just like, damn, Dylan really loves movies with CB radios. Jesus Christ.
Are there more than the two?
I don't think so.
Or is this like if I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 2 nickels,
I'd have 2
which
nickels.
Isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yes, yeah. What is that from?
Phineas and Ferb, and I've never seen it.
Oh my God. You've never seen Phineas and Ferb? Oh, that's right. We've talked about this. A plague upon your house for that. Phineas and Ferb is the best. Okay. Next note that I wrote, and I don't remember exactly it must have been. So once he pulls into the gas station to check his fluids.
Bell's. Oh, okay. You're talking about the very beginning, the gas station.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. When he pulls into the gas station, he had just been he almost ran off, or somebody almost ran him off the road, or he almost ran. I don't remember whose fault it was.
The character, I believe, is named Earl, but the actor is MC Gainey, who's the one who we actually don't really know if because Kurt Russell looks away for a second while he's doing something. I don't know if he's messing with the radio or whatever, but when he looks up, this pickup truck is pulling out onto the road and he has to swerve to avoid him. And that's basically the start of the entire run-in with them. At some point we have the guy who drives the pickup telling him, we noticed, Massachusetts plates, you're from out of state, brand new car, like easy pickings, type of thing. Yeah.
But that's sort of the beginning of the altercation. And when he pulls into the gas station, so too does Earl and his pickup truck. And Earl begins to talk to him. And I don't think at that point Kurt Russell understands that it's the same guy. But I wrote, anytime a stranger tries to strike up a conversation with me, I want to abso-fucking-lutely die. Do you feel that way?
Almost always. The only time that I'm ever in, like, if I'm in the middle of a transaction, like if you're working or I'm working and like we happen to have to be in the middle of a transaction, yeah, we can chit chat for a
100%.
second. Absolutely fine. But if I'm just walking and you're just walking, we don't need to.
I think that's a New York thing because other places they're super friendly. I constantly have to shut that shit down immediately because I feel really threatened. You know what I mean?
You know what I've also been told is a New York thing?
Nah.
We had family visiting from the West Coast, and my brother-in-law at the time says to me, New Yorkers really like to make eye contact with you a lot. I was like, they do? He was like, every time, whenever I walk down the street, every single person is just locking eyes with me. I was like, okay.
Oh, that's weird. Huh, maybe. I guess. Another thing that's really inherently New York, and I find this really interesting. When we were growing up, like there's a lot of ball busting. You know what I mean? Like if, for example, you and Zach can be abso-fucking-lutely screaming at each other about just about anything. And you're not really fighting. You're just yelling. But like in other places, that's like an altercation.
That might just be an us thing though, because my family does a lot of yelling.
Yeah, but that's like Corey and his best friend will be screaming at each other about who's the better rapper, and they're not fighting; they're just screaming. Like, and I'll scream at my brother about who's gonna have the last slice of pizza. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. We're not actually fighting. We're just fighting.
You know what's the worst? Being told that you're talking loudly.
Oh yeah,
it happens all the time with me and Giselle because it'll be like 11 o'clock at night, which I don't think is very late to me, but we live in an apartment building and I'll be talking and she'll go, "You're shouting." And I'm like, no, I have to immediately change my voice from this to I am not shouting. You immediately have to break yourself down. Like, I'm talking normal.
Yes. Corey and I, see, we're the opposite where we get up really early and sometimes we have to go in the hallway to like get something or we get food delivered at like 6 o'clock in the morning and he'll open the door and be like, "I'm so glad the food." And I'm like, "Well, other people are sleeping."
That is true. In an apartment building, for some reason, they'll do the best they can to make sure like you can't hear each other through the walls, but the hallway is no holds barred. They're like, "No, you'll hear everything in the hallway."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hallway is public domain. It's true.
This is what people expected to hear when they clicked on the breakdown episode.
Damn, I keep getting updates about the draft and I keep thinking that we bought like before the trade deadline, like we got another pitcher, but it's like, yeah, we bought this 18-year-old fucking kid. Anyway.
I didn't realize the MLB draft was around now. I was like, selective service? Are we going to war?
No.
I'm too young.
Not yet. You're too old.
Oh,
actually. God. Yeah. No, you're way past draft age.
I'm flat-footed.
And also, your feet are flat, right?
Super flat, and they point outwards. I'm all kinds of flat.
Yeah. My feet are flat too. That's a Pollock thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We're all flat-footed. Okay. I don't remember what we were talking about. Oh,
breakdown.
No. But I said when people try to talk to me, it makes me want to kill myself. Yes. Yeah. If you see me on the street, just say hi. Please don't ask me like people will come up to me and be like, "Oh, that's a big backpack. Do you go to the gym?" And I'm like, please, you're about to ruin my day. Do not.
I don't, but to go back to the movie, I don't know. I think he does realize that I don't know if he does or doesn't realize it's the same guy because they sort of just talk politely until Earl's like, you almost ran me off the road, you like freaking idiot.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't say it like that because I feel like I turned way more New York.
Yeah, you freaking idiot.
Freaking guy.
I did write after that, cowboys are lame and this country is lame. And also, imagine a new age version of this movie where the cowboy is vaping.
You know what's lame? The Dallas Cowboys. Bam. I do think, though, that the Cowboys make sense just because they stand out so much with what they're wearing.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing a polo shirt that's tucked into his, khaki shorts. And he literally points out, he's like, my wife, she was wearing a Benetton sweater. And I do love the guy at the diner being like, his wife was wearing a button-down sweater. Like he has no idea what he's talking about type of thing.
Yep.
Which, did you recognize that guy, the guy at Bell's Diner?
No.
That guy, I looked up his name just because I'm like, I've seen this man in everything. His name is Jack McGee, which is like, almost sounds fake. Yeah. He is a character actor extraordinaire. He was in the movie The Fighter. He's in It's Always Sunny. He's in so many random things, but if you look up Jack McGee, you've seen him in something.
That's cool. I love those.
What else you got?
My next question for you is this, and you can explain the context. What would you do? And this is a legitimate question. What would you do with 90,000 donuts?
That is how I kill myself, guy.
That's how it ends for you.
I know what I'm doing for the next 90,000 minutes. Who would pick 90,000 donuts? Okay, so
yeah, give context.
Yeah, we do have to give context. When they stop at the gas station shortly before the titular breakdown, his wife, Amy, I believe it's Amy,
yes,
picks up a bunch of snacks for them, like a bunch of junk food with what little money they have. And one of the things is a package of, those powdered donuts, and it says on it, if you win the write-in contest, you can choose $90,000 or 90,000 donuts. And it's a big joke to them about, like, what would somebody do with 90,000 donuts? Which ends up becoming important later because the lie Amy tells them after she's been kidnapped is that they have a bunch of money from their donut fortune. Like, it's like Ferris Bueller. He's supposed to be the Abe Froman sausage king of Chicago, I guess. I think he literally says he ain't no donut king. And he goes $90,000. Like it triggers him into remembering.
Yep. But yeah, 90,000 donuts. What the fuck?
That's a lot of donuts. That's a lot of powder.
Good one.
Thank you, guys. I do think. Do you have more notes?
Oh yeah. You want me to keep going?
Please.
All right. The next note I wrote is, why is he dressed like he's headed to work at Microsoft?
I mean, it's realistically the way somebody might dress. Like, I feel like I've dressed the same way before, just without the polo being tucked in.
Yeah, but still, no.
Yeah,
it's weird for a road trip. Like, you're going to be sitting in a car for 24 hours. You're not going to wear sweatpants. Shorts.
I never wear sweatpants.
What?
I hate sweatpants.
Why?
Because it feels like I'm practically not wearing pants, and I don't like it.
Yeah, but that's joyous. What do you wear when you're lounging around?
Shorts, either khaki shorts or like maybe like some kind of like basketball short type thing.
But the basketball shorts feel like more pants than the full length sweatpants.
Yeah, I don't like the sweatpant texture.
Interesting. Corey has a pair of sweatpants that he says every time he wears them, they make his knees hurt.
He should stop wearing those sweatpants.
Yeah.
They're clearly cursed. Yeah.
Okay, the next thing I wrote is, it's hard to believe that less than 30 years ago, we had no way to call anyone on the road if our car broke down. Because if they have iPhones, this movie doesn't happen.
Honestly, maybe it does, because as somebody who has, Giselle and I have now gone to, like, we've been to the Grand Canyon, we went to Zion. There are periods of road where you're driving and no, there's no service. There's nothing around you. It is just empty open space for miles.
That's
I remember
horrible.
It's honestly, it is scary for sure. I remember we were driving back from the Grand Canyon towards the airport, and it's like a 4-hour drive, and we had to leave at night. And there's no lights, there's no guardrails. So like during the day, you can see that like if I veer right now, we're going into the canyon. Like, but at night, you're like, I don't know what's to my left or what's to my right. And then you see the signs that are like deer crossing next 80 miles, and you're like, oh fuck, I guess I gotta stay hyper aware of these deer who like to jump out. They're like, there's the one light source, let me take it on.
Oh my God. We went upstate New York, like near Albany, and I drove home. And oh my God, you're on a highway. It appears to be a highway, but there are no guardrails, and also there are people's front yards. So it's
also,
like
it's
a
only
highway.
2 lanes.
Yep.
Also, there's like intersections in the highway.
Yep.
Because I know the Taconic you're talking about.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, Dylan. I was like, I don't know if I'm on a highway or a side street, because there's a house, but also it's a highway. Also, there's no lights. The lanes are so narrow. It's a 2-way road. I was like, get me out of here.
Yeah, I guess you're just used to it if you live right around there, but I'm like, I don't like the idea of intersecting over a highway like that, but okay.
Yeah. Hated it. I think the trucker, whose name was
Red.
Red
Mhm.
should have been played by James Spader.
Okay. No, what you mean is the guy who played the trucker reminded you of James Spader, and I totally do see why.
Yeah.
But I think the guy who actually plays him is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
but
this was
you're saying James Spader wouldn't have been phenomenal?
I don't think James Spader would have been as good as Red. I feel bad that I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head. J.T. Walsh. He sadly, I think this was his last role.
What happened to him?
I think he had a heart attack.
It's a shame. They're taking everybody.
Ashanda.
Okay. Yeah, he reminded me of James Spader
Okay.
quite a bit. Or as Corey will only refer to him, Robert California.
I'm the fucking Lizard King. I did not love that character, but he had some moments.
It was just that character sucked, but James Spader was so good. Has your car ever broken down?
Hell yeah. 100 times.
I know.
It somehow keeps happening to me.
Tell the stories. Tell your favorite car breakdown story.
My favorite one is the one where I successfully drove home without any issues. There was one time actually where we're driving back from the airport and we were giving our friend Chad a ride. And all of a sudden in my minivan, like one light after another, the dashboard starts lighting up like fucking Christmas. But it's not all at once. It's like check engine, this, that. Like these lights come on until suddenly it is a cornucopia of lights on the dashboard, a rainbow, a brilliant picture.
There is a Hanukkah of lights, if you will.
Yes, I am freaking out, and I'm trying not to too actively freak out. But Chad is such I don't want to call him monotone, but like very even keeled. Like his mood doesn't go up or down really. He just always stays at like this. And he's just going, you can't panic about it because you can't do anything. Can't do anything about it right now. It's not worth
that doesn't help.
Meanwhile, the car, I'm like shoving my foot down to the ground and it's going like 20 miles per hour. Like the car's like the car was like begging for the sweet release of death, and I was like, "You're making it back from goddamn LaGuardia." But let me tell you, actually, I'm going to interject in your notes to tell you the story of the first time I showed this movie to Giselle.
Okay.
So, Zach told me I had to watch this movie. I watched it by myself at some point, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is great."
How old were you when this happened?
Oh, this is only a couple years ago.
Okay.
I felt like I really want to show this to Giselle, but I hadn't had a chance to. So we were flying, ironically, I was just talking about it. We were going to Zion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had downloaded it for the flight. So I'm watching it on the flight. I don't remember if I did watch it on the flight. Doesn't matter. One of the things we were doing in Zion was the Narrows. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It is in between like mountains. You're walking on basically a riverbed, and it's really cool experience. You know what I mean?
It's red rocks all around you. It's photo ops galore. Yes,
it's incredible.
I remember your photos from it.
Yes. You have to get there super early because there's like 20 parking spots that are, probably half a mile from where the Narrows actually start. If you don't get there in time for that, you have to walk a few miles just to get there.
God
so
forbid.
We're like, we're going to get there super early. So we probably wake up at like 3 a.m. and we're there at like 3:30 in the morning, and we are the first car there. I already explained there's no lights. It is pitch black darkness in the mountains.
Now, you rented a car for this trip?
Yes.
Okay.
We had the rented car. We have our rented gear, and it's pitch darkness. And I said to Giselle, we have no service. We have to watch what one of us download. And I went, oh, why don't we watch Breakdown? So the first time Giselle saw the movie about the person being kidnapped in the mountains was when she was in the mountains in darkness. And she was like, she just sent me a correction for the other room. It's a canyon. I'm so sorry that I keep calling them mountains. Thank you, Giselle.
It's a canyon.
So the first time that she saw this movie, she was, I don't want to say terrified, but not happy with me. That was the moment I chose to show it to her.
You're an idiot.
A little bit. Yeah. I will say, Gab, you're in a long-term relationship. Did you feel like this movie hits different in that sense, that it's like a scary thought?
Yes. And it was funny because if you know Corey, he was like, well, if that were me, and I was like, all right, like, yes. And obviously different temperament, different type of man. But very like it was really like alarming. And especially too because like like you said in the beginning of the episode, depending upon your circumstance, like no matter where you are in the world or what your career is or what traveling you do or don't do, like you're always in a position where you are unable to communicate with your spouse, or you are leaving and the other person is staying home, and things can happen. And it made me think about not necessarily being kidnapped on a road trip, but like going and taking the train, the subway at 5 a.m, and Corey is still home sleeping and his phone is on do not disturb, and it's like, who knows, right? Like that kind of thing can happen. And yeah, it was a hot topic of conversation in our house. Well, the whole, if this were us, this is what would happen.
And I think what the movie does really well is Kurt Russell, who has done a good amount of action movies, but is still sort of like, he's not Schwarzenegger or Stallone. He still looks like a somewhat
He looks like a
average
regular
person.
guy. Yeah.
He does such a good job of playing it in such a way that a normal person would react, I think, because to me, one of the standout moments is Bell's Diner, when he gets there and his wife is supposed to be there and she's not there. And he is starting to panic. And then he starts to get angry and he's like, I need answers. And he knows that the clerk has these receipts that would have names on them written down. So he's like, I want to look through your slips. If my wife is here, her name's going to be on one of those slips. I want to see him. And he snatches them out of his hand. And, he's sort of getting into his action righteous mode at the time. You know what I mean? And the owner of the diner pulls out a handgun and points at him. And he's like, I don't know what the fuck you think you're doing. And he gives such a genuine reaction of what I feel like a real person would do, because he reacts so quickly as like somebody who might not have ever seen a gun before, somebody who's definitely never had a gun pointed at them before, and somebody who is like, well, my anger is done now. I'm just scared you're about to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I think a lot of the movie is that. While he really wants to get his wife back, 80% of the movie is him being so scared and just hoping against hope that, like, will I see her again? You know what I mean? And every time he ever asks the question, he's like, you show me my wife. They immediately shut him down, because at the end of the day, he has no choices and no power.
Yeah. It does a really good job, and it keeps you really grounded in reality, because he is not like this is not Die Hard, where he's like, I'm gonna fucking yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Like, this is a regular dude who is from the Northeast, who's not even from the gunslinging West, fucking tough guy in area.
Yeah, because even in Die Hard, John McClane is still a cop. He still has training. He has fighting experience. He has shooting experience.
Yeah.
As far as we know, Jeff Taylor, very average man with very average name. Sorry if you're Jeff Taylor listening to this podcast, has no experience with any of this. And he also doesn't even have any actual money that they're after. So it's really just keep pretending you have money, keep faking your way through the situation, or you're just going to die. And your wife is going to die.
I have two really good Corey quotes from watching this movie.
Okay.
So the first is when we're introduced to Billie.
Okay.
Do you want to give a little context there?
Yeah.
Just when we're introduced to him.
There's a little while where, to go back to Bell's Diner, we sort of have this feeling of like, who's in on it, who's not in on it. And is, the owner of Bell's Diner in on it? Because he has this one moment where he looks at him a long time after he leaves the diner, or like, are any of the people in there in on it? And then when he's leaving the diner, he goes to call the police again. And he's had one experience with the policeman already, who like couldn't see anything with the truck about his missing wife, and he couldn't confirm. It was, one person's word versus another. And he was like, go speak to my deputy. But he's leaving Bell's Diner and he goes to call the police, and the guy is washing his car, and he stops him and he tells him, my name's Billy. Are you the guy who's looking for his wife? And it does what I really think Billy intended to do. It gets him to put the phone down right away and stop calling the cops, because he's just talking to him now. And he tells him that the cops are in on it. And he goes, I don't know where they take them. They don't tell me that. And he really just gets him to not trust anyone. But we're later revealed, after Billy tricks him into going up to like a closed road, that Billy is in on it. The pickup driver from the beginning is in on it. And the 18-wheeler driver, Red, is the mastermind of it all.
Right. However, the important part that you left out is that when we are introduced to Billie, Billie is portrayed to have the same IQ as the character that Ben Stiller plays in Tropic Thunder. Simple Jack.
Simple Jack. He is like, yeah, and I think again it's probably just to make Jeff lower his defenses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it's like, well, why would this person be lying to me?
So this guy who is trying to appear like he did not graduate from the 3rd grade goes, "My name is Billie." And Corey goes, "Oh, we got a simpleton." Ooh, which I really loved.
He to me is there's like 4 bad guys in this movie, and they get significantly less interesting each step down you go.
Yeah.
Like literally there's a 4th guy named Al who's just like an old guy with a white beard that it's like, evil Santa, no.
Yeah. And also he's so fat, and it's like at one point he's running and I was like, no, I don't believe you. And he gets like stabbed and he's bleeding everywhere. And I'm like, no, he'd be dead.
But he's definitely like the least important guy. And then you have Billie, who's like slightly more important. And he's like the hotshot. And he's like, we should have gotten them both at the same time. You know, then we could have killed them. And I don't know what their full operation is. At first I thought they were like human traffickers, but it sounds like they really just rob people and take all of their shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Earl to me is the most interesting of the henchmen.
Wait, can I tell you? So you know how Giselle corrected you from the other room?
Yes.
Corey just texted me from the other room and he said, that guy was so fat, I'm surprised he didn't bleed chocolate milk.
Oh my God.
See, that's another, like, if you're from New York, you know that that's just a joke. And people that are not from New York are going to be like, that's so mean. And it's like, no, we're just busting balls.
And I feel like I have to mention now what is probably my favorite part of the movie. Not at all related to talking about
ball busting.
No, not related to Al or the ball busting, but eventually Kurt Russell starts to get I don't want to say the upper hand, because like Die Hard, he is mostly on his back foot through most of this movie. It's rare that he's in a position of power. But there's one moment where it's just him and Earl, and they've tricked him, they've told him you have to go into a bank, you have to take out $90,000 immediately. So what he does is he takes out $5,000, which is all the money he has left in the world, and he puts like 20s around ones in these, stacks that are supposed to look like more money than they are. And Earl starts to go through the stacks while he's driving, and Kurt Russell breaks out of his restraints, as he starts to realize it's fake. So what happens is they get switched in the seats where Kurt Russell is driving now. It's the first moment that he's got like real power and real revengeability. And he does a 10 out of 10 here, which is he wants to interrogate this man to find out where his wife is. So Earl had him taped up. So what he does is he tapes his arms to his legs, and then he tapes this man's neck to the headrest of the car.
Yep.
And it is such a clever interrogation to me, because he's taking his pickup truck, and every time he gives him a bad answer, he just stops as hard as he can. And you just see Earl choking. And one of my favorite moments in this movie is when, I know I have it written down somewhere, but Earl is choking and he says, stop. And I don't know where I wrote it down, but Jeff says something along the lines of, did you say stop? You want me to stop? Because I bet this baby can stop on a fucking dime. And he stops so short, and you just see this guy's eyes nearly bulging out of his head as he's choking.
It's so good. It was great.
I think an important thing about a revenge movie, or when there is revenge in a movie, is you as the audience want them to exact great revenge. And I think it's very disappointing if somebody's just like an easy win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And I think Earl and the very last guy, who I'm sure we'll get to in a minute since we are very spoilery, are such good moments of revenge. Well, do you have other notes before I start to get more towards the end of the movie?
Last note is when the son gets involved. So you want to give a little bit of context there? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Another great moment. So at some point, after they take out Earl, after Jeff takes out Earl, the other guys, Al, Billie, and Red, decide that they're going to, go back to Red's place, which who knows how many miles away it is, but they're like, we're going to go reconvene. I think they've already gotten Jeff's car. But They don't know that Jeff is following on the truck. He is like managed to get on the truck after he interrogates Earl for where their meeting spot was. So Jeff is on this truck this entire time, and eventually he gets to the house, and Red, Al, his wife, and Billie are all having breakfast because it's like 6 a.m. by this point. And we see that Red is a family man. He's got his wife, he's got his son. He gives his son a Swiss Army knife that we're sure he probably stole off somebody else that he kidnapped or killed or whatever. And Jeff follows them into the house. I don't remember where he gets the shotgun.
The kid has it.
Oh, where does he gets a he has
The
a
kid
handgun.
says, no, he has a shotgun. The kid says,
No,
my
but
dad
he has a handgun.
Oh, he has a handgun. Sorry.
Jeff
yeah.
has a handgun. He has gone into the dining room and he's pointing the gun at all of them. And as he's pointing the gun at them, the son walks in with a big old shotgun in hand. And I'm sorry, you were going to point out, what does he say?
The kid says, my daddy told me how to unlock the gun box for when he's gone so I can protect mama.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of time where Jeff is saying, put the gun down, kid. And the dad is saying, squeeze the trigger, son. And the kid is crying. And it's like, it's very dramatic. And first of all, the kid definitely didn't want to kill somebody. And the dad was just going to let him live with the thought of murder for the rest of his life.
Well, I think it's a great scene of showing just how monstrous Red is, because we already know the gears are working the entire time the situation is going on, of him being like, how am I going to get the upper hand on this guy? How am I going to kill him? But when his son comes in and it gives him an opportunity, he does not think at all about his son's well-being, his mental well-being. He is just like, kill him. Like, very coldly, until eventually at first I didn't remember, does the mom have anything to do with this? Does she know anything about this? I don't think she knows anything about this, but she gets to a point where she just goes, shoot him or something like that. And I'm like, oh, you're both sick.
Yeah. But there's a couple of moments where Jeff has the opportunity to kill the kid and he doesn't, obviously, because he's a decent person. Mm-hmm. And Corey said to me, and I quote, he's got to go get the son, hold the gun to his head and say, go get my wife out of the thing right now, or this kid's not going to 5th grade.
Well, I like Jeff's line even better than that. I think when he's holding them up at gunpoint, I think the wife says something like, what's going on, to her husband? And he goes, your husband's got my wife locked in a freezer in your goddamn barn. And if you don't open it up right now and get her out of there, I'm going to blow his friggin' head off or something. Like, he's clearly like lost it by this point.
Yeah.
Which another great moment is, obviously, now that he's got the upper hand after they get out of that situation, which we won't explain that, go watch the movie. It's good.
Yeah.
They're in the barn and they get Amy out of the freezer that she's been locked in. And he's telling them all to get down there. And the son goes, and the wife goes, and the henchmen go, and Red is starting to go down the stairs into like the basement of the barn. And he turns back to talk some shit to Jeff. He goes to say, listen here, mister. And before he can finish the sentence, it's a great moment where Jeff goes, fuck you, and kicks him down the stairs. Like, part of me thinks maybe he should have a more clever thing to say right there. And part of me goes, no, that's part of the realism of the movie, that he's not thinking about a clever thing. He's like, I just want to get the fuck out of here with my wife. Just go down the basement, you piece of shit.
Yeah, like, just please hurry.
Yes. At the very end, because I do want to spoil the last moments of revenge. A car chase ensues. Somehow Jeff and Amy survive all this other car trouble with the henchmen and they get rid of them. It's just them and Red's 18-wheeler. Red has them pinned and is trying to push them off of an overpass to kill them. And Jeff climbs out of the car and turns the wheel on the 18-wheeler. So now the 18-wheeler is starting to go over and it's being held up by virtually nothing, just like a small part of the guardrail. And Red has the upper hand. He wraps his chain around his fist and he's whipping Kurt Russell with it, whipping Jeff with it. And, it feels like a terrible situation until Jeff catches the chain in his hand. And because Red has it wrapped around his fist, all Jeff has to do is pull. And that's it. And you get this great moment, and I don't know why I love it so much, but I do, where you just have silence and this extreme close-up of Jeff's eyes and then Red's eyes, because it's just this moment where you can see Jeff non-verbally giving a look that says, got you. and Red non-verbally giving a look that says, fuck.
Yep.
And he just
Yeah.
yanks him over. Not quite killing him, but this man is now clearly injured very badly at the bottom of the overpass. And do you want to say, obviously Jeff's gotten a lot of revenge here. Amy is the one who's actually been kidnapped the whole time. Do you want to say what Amy does?
Not much, right? She's pinned in the car.
No, she gets out. Jeff helps her get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And they both are sort of like about to have their moment of, thank goodness that's over. And Amy says, fuck that, and releases the clutch of the pickup truck of the 18-wheeler and drops it right on that motherfucker, making sure, like, double tap to the extreme. It's like, no, he ain't coming back from that. There ain't going to be breakdown too.
Yeah. It's great.
Can I talk
Really,
about
really strong
something
ending.
that really frustrates me in the movie, though?
Yeah.
Once Jeff has Amy out of the freezer, he has a handgun and a shotgun, and he never gives either one to her. Which, like, I get that, like, Jeff's the hero of the movie, the main protagonist, but I'm like, she can help.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can point and squeeze.
One thing that annoyed me was after she got out of the freezer, she was like, and it was like, listen, we got to run. Like, I know you're tired and I know you've been kidnapped, but like, we got to get out, like, up and at him, baby. Let's go.
I think she eventually does a good job of that, but there's also one moment right when she gets out of the freezer. The wife lets her out of the freezer, and I think, like, goes to help her get up, and she's like, don't fucking touch me.
Yeah, she like freaks out on her. It's good.
Very fair, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I did really appreciate about this movie was that it had a beginning, a middle, and an end. There was no way to be like, and coming next fall, straight to VHS, Breakdown 2, Red's Revenge. Like, it was just, it was over and out. And I appreciated that. And a cool 90 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what your verdict is going to be, because I feel like you were somewhat in on this. So, should I get to the facts?
Let's get to the facts. Jinx.
I want the truth! Face the facts, dukes.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
IMDb gives it a 7 out of 10. On the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, it has 81% with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10, 13 fresh reviews, 3 rotten, an audience score of 68% with an average score of 3.6 out of 5. It had a budget of $36 million and it grossed $50 million. The critics' consensus, a brainy and suspenseful, if somewhat uneven, thriller. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. Taut, skillful, and surgically effective. Jonathan Rosenbaum from the Chicago Reader, Breakdown has plenty of deft action sequences, and what they add up to is nifty garbage disposal, with all of us, characters, filmmakers, viewers, ultimately spiraling down the same drain. Seems a bit extreme. Peter Stack from the San Francisco Chronicle, a 96-minute thrill ride that twists and turns before accelerating to a wonderfully overwrought finale. Stephen Hunter from the Washington Post, Kurt Russell's lack of energy afflicts the film as much as its director's lack of ideas.
Oh.
Which I do not think Kurt Russell is lacking in energy at all in this movie, but okay.
Me neither.
Couple letterbox reviews.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't tell if it was raining or if there's something wrong with my air conditioner, but I think it may have been a pigeon. So anyway, continue.
Okay, none of those add up, but sure. Tony the Terror, sort of a classic 80s road trip horror made in the late 90s that honestly does a better job than most of the movies that inspired it. I can tell you from my days of living in Wyoming that those deserted roads are pretty terrifying. From Groove Men, a 90-minute 90s film where $90,000 or 90,000 donuts is a plot point in a bare-bones action film that's better than 90% of other 90s action films. I'd watch it 90 more times. 90.
That's good.
Brian Tallarico, We Take Kurt Russell for Granted.
We do.
And last one, Todd. I love 90-minute films with no subplots. Just like, hey, here's your fucking plot. It's about if he can get his wife back. No, there's no nuance. No, there's no subplot. No, the camera doesn't take time to linger on buildings and random shadows for dramatic effect. No, we don't make you watch for 20 minutes after the climax. It's action, suspense, mystery, boom. I'm saying I like those sort of movies, and this is one of them. Plus, Wyatt Russell's dad is in this. This film is a living nightmare. Watch it.
I could not agree more. Signed, sealed, delivered. That is exactly how I feel. I agree. It's wholeheartedly.
It's also very weird to hear anybody be like, Wyatt Russell's dad?
Who's Wyatt Russell?
Wyatt Russell is Kurt Russell's son, who is an actor, but like, come on. How many people are like, know Wyatt Russell that don't know who Kurt Russell is? That shocks me.
Yeah, that's weird. Is he? Oh, wow. He's old too. Is that Goldie Hawn's son too? Yeah.
Yes.
Wyatt. What a name.
The movie was directed by Jonathan Mostow, who also directed U-571, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, and Surrogates. The screenplay is by Jonathan Mostow and Sam Montgomery, who also wrote House at the End of the Street, 4 episodes of 24 in U-571. Stars Kurt Russell as Jeff Taylor, who you may know from The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, and Death Proof, and a lot more. J.T. Walsh as Red, who you may know from Sling Blade, Needful Things, and A Few Good Men. Kathleen Quinlan as Amy, who you might know from Apollo 13 and Family Law. MC Gainey as Earl, who you might know from Club Dread and Con Air. Jack Noseworthy, just a great name, as Billie, who you might know from that episode of Law & Order SVU, where Milo Ventimiglia accuses his stepdad, played by Stephen Lang from Avatar, of abusing him, but it wasn't his stepdad who was in prison and broke out of prison for the truth. It was the cousin who's been lying about it the whole time, and he was the cousin.
Thank you.
It was nominated for 2 Saturn Awards, which is the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, for Best Action Adventure Thriller Film and Best Supporting Actor for J.T. Walsh. The music was by Basil Polidoris, who also did the music for RoboCop and Conan the Barbarian and Starship Troopers.
Wow.
Couple fun facts?
Yeah.
Kurt Russell was helicoptered in and out of the areas of shooting so he could be with his family in LA at night. His contract had a 12-hour turnaround, meaning Kurt had to be home at least 12 hours before leaving again to go back to the set. A private car would pick up Kurt Russell at home, drive him to the airport, where he would take a private jet to a regional airport nearest to where the crew was filming. Finally, a helicopter would bring Kurt from the regional airport right to his makeup trailer. The crew would film with Kurt for an hour before lunch, and by around 4 o'clock, they would have to stop shooting when the helicopter arrived to take him home.
You know, I respect the shit out of that because family first.
I also respect that he's like, listen, I'm Kurt fucking Russell. I'm the one on this poster, bitch.
Yeah.
He's like, we ain't working no long days.
Yeah, like, fuck it. This movie is, like, you want to have a good movie? I need to be home with my family. I also I respect the shit out of that because he loves Goldie Hawn so much.
And Wyatt.
And Wyatt. And
Kate Hudson, probably, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They're super close.
Yeah,
she's closer with him than she is with her father.
I don't even know who her father is.
Bill Hudson.
Oh. Writer and director Jonathan Mostow got the idea for the film while driving through Las Vegas with his wife.
Creepy.
The director recalls meeting with J.T. Walsh to go over the script, and when the actor passed it back to him, he had scratched off nearly half his own dialogue. Mostow was confused, but Walsh told him, I'm a much better villain if I don't need anything from him. Just the money. Anytime I need something emotional from him, it takes away my own power. Which I do think is really interesting because these guys, all they care about is this money. And they clearly are very willing to just kill them without it.
Yeah.
Red's 18-wheeler is visible in the background behind Earl when he first approaches Jeff at the gas station.
Interesting.
Jonathan Mostow recalls his wife overhearing a conversation in a theater bathroom after a test screening, and the people were talking about how the movie was incredibly stressful. That was good to hear for a suspense thriller. But then they mentioned they gave the film a terrible score because it was so stressful.
Oh my God. Too good.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, that sucks. The Roadside Cafe was built specifically for this production, and Jonathan Mostow regrets not buying it outright after filming. He said, it's been in 5 gazillion car commercials. You see it constantly.
No, that's funny.
When Red says to Jeff, 49 minutes, Jeff, time to get the show on the road. There are exactly 49 minutes until the end of the movie.
Oh, love that.
And last one, in the script, there's another scene after the bridge climax with Jeff and Amy back at the farm talking to the FBI. The film finishes with the line by Amy, next time we fly. This was deemed out of place and dropped, and thank goodness.
Yeah. I've told you my theory on Titanic, right? That the movie Titanic is longer than it took the actual boat to sink. So if you press play on Titanic when the boat hit the iceberg, you wouldn't get to see the ending. I think all movies should be exactly the length that it takes for the action to unfold. So I agree.
That sounds like a bad idea for some things. I was going to say, there's things like, so you're saying a war movie should be several years, you know what I mean?
Yes. The movie about the War of 1812.
Saving Private Ryan was a typical 6-year-long movie for me.
Fine.
But you know what will hopefully not be years long? Our mail segment.
No, God, I hope not.
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
Just some brief mails today. First, I have a comment for you from Scott Cameron.
Did you say brief mails today?
Brief mails. Boxer brief mails.
I was gonna say mail boxer briefs.
Okay, it's a comment from Scotty Cameron, who updated us on our guests now that Kyle has been back on again for TMNT. Corey is the other 3-time guest for the podcast. He and Giselle were guests for The Room, then he was a guest for Into the Spider-Verse, and he was a guest for Big. He's also had cameos throughout.
Aww.
Sometimes as an Empire sympathizer and sometimes not as an Empire sympathizer.
Oh my God. So side note, we are going to Disneyland in September. Have you ever been?
Not in a long time, but yes. Disney World, never Disneyland, actually.
Okay, same. I've been to Disney World. I haven't been to Disneyland. Disneyland in California now has like the Star Wars world and the Marvel world and blah, blah, blah. And so super excited because he's going to get to do all of that and experience all that. But then I was like, oh my God, I'm taking my Empire sympathizer boyfriend to the Star Wars world. He's going to leave a full-blown stormtrooper.
You just need to snap a couple quick photos of him next to stormtroopers and Darth Vader and Kylo Ren, and it'll be like, there's the blackmail I need.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. He is. Yeah. He's going to be living his best life until he realizes that everyone's booing his team.
It's like that new Shyamalan movie. This whole thing is a trap. They've been trying this entire time.
Yes.
We also have another email from, it's the second email from our hopefully now frequent listener, Legacy Allen.
Hello, Legacy Allen.
I hope that's okay. It says that's what it says in your email. It came up with that name, so I'm hoping it's cool. By golly, beating the allegations is the subject.
Okay.
By golly, I must once again prove the authenticity of my name. Attached below will be evidence of my innocence. It is a South Carolina driver's license with the name Legacy Allen. So,
wow. But doesn't wait? Show me again. Allen, Legacy Michael. Wow, that's his real fucking name. Wow. So he sent us a picture of his driver's license. He obviously edited out the address, but wow, he must have that on hand at all times. Not his license, but even just like a photo of the proof of his name. Now, I don't want to create more stir here, but you know, the prosecution must point out that anybody can go to the DMV and change their name. I guess you got to go to Social Security first.
So are you not asking Mr. Allen? I'm sorry, we're on a first name basis. Are you asking Legacy to provide a birth certificate now?
I might be. Although you can also get a new birth certificate because one time I had to go and get a new one. And as soon as I got home, I found the old one. And they don't make that shit easy.
No, they do not. Well, also, you're an organ donor, so good on you, Legacy. Good for you.
Are you an organ donor?
I think so. I'm pretty sure I am.
I don't know if I am.
Do I know if you would actually really want them? Probably not. They're not that good.
Your organs have seen better days, I'm sure.
They're okay, yeah. By the way, Legacy did have things to say besides sending us their driver's license, so I'm going to get to that now.
Okay.
On a slightly different note, when I emailed the suggestion for an animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie last episode, I promised that I did not know that the very next episode would also be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Hell of a coincidence there, but hey, I will certainly not complain. Very good commentary on the movie, and quite to the pleasant surprise that I was unanimously considered a movie to watch before you die. Learning of the work Jim Henson put on the movie and watching a Jim Henson documentary by Defunct Land. Have you ever heard of Defunct Land?
No.
It's a YouTube channel. I would highly recommend the video where it's like an hour and a half long YouTube video, but it's fantastic as they try and figure out who is the person that made the Disney Channel theme.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about? The doon, 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 doon.
Mm-hmm.
I know they can't see it, but Gab, give me your best Mickey Mouse. You're watching Disney Channel. It was all right. She did an art.
It was fine, right? I'm a terrible artist. You know, today I was trying to draw a cowboy hat and I had the pen in my hand and I was looking down at this paper and I was like, I can't. I've seen a cowboy hat. I'm even imagining the little emoji with the cowboy hat. And I'm like, I don't see it clearly enough. And it's interesting because even when I go to like a furniture store, right, and I'm looking at like a rug or a piece of art, I cannot imagine what it would look like in my home. I just don't have that. And Corey can be like, he can like create a moment. You know what I mean? Like he'll be like, oh, this would look really good. And then if we put this there, whatever. And I'm like, I can't even fathom what this would look like, you know, the space that we have. I have no idea.
That might be a familial thing because I also cannot draw and have no ability to like, what would that look like in the space if we were going to decorate? Not
No
good at
idea.
that.
Surprise me.
But as Legacy was saying on Defunctland, it drew me to watch it for myself for the first time last year, and while it has that classic 90s camp, it stands tall for me as not only a surprisingly accurate adaptation of the original source material, but as a well-grounded comic book movie in a decade filled with comic book movies that could not say the same. I may be in that 1% demographic from the Batwagon crossover, but look, good luck getting rid of me for quite some time. Yupton Legacy out. Legacy, glad to have you. It's nice to have somebody who mails in besides poor Scotty.
Yeah, thank you, Legacy.
And now we can get back to, what is this, Breakdown? Ooh.
Breakdown. Do you know that song? I don't even.
I thought you were doing Tom Petty. I don't know what you're doing now.
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty has the song Breakdown?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, people, look up the Tom Petty song Breakdown while we talk about our verdicts for the movie Breakdown.
And do me a favor, don't have a breakdown.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death.
Okay, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's a movie to watch before you die. I think Kurt Russell gives a great performance, as well as J.T. Walsh, and MC Gainey a little bit too. And especially if you're in a long-term relationship, or if you've ever been in a long-term relationship, you can understand the stress, the anxiety, the agitation that he is feeling, and the fear. Yeah, it's similar to, I think I've mentioned before, watching The Notebook, and only because of the fact that I am now in a long-term relationship, that goddamn movie did make me cry. And it's the same reason that this goddamn movie makes me stressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if I'd seen it, like I said, when I was 16 years old, I'd be like, that movie's okay. I think it's great, though. I think it really pulls at the strings of something people will feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dylan, I completely agree with you. I loved it. I thought it was really captivating. It was very stressful. It did everything it was supposed to do very effectively. I loved that it was a cool 90 minutes. I loved that there was not exactly like what that Letterboxd review said. I couldn't have said it better myself. We didn't have to watch 20 minutes after the climax. It was simple. It was very straightforward and effective. And I really liked the realistic, stress and fear of that situation, which could happen to anybody. It was great, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Wow. I will take the win.
Yeah, you did it. Good job.
I was definitely very nervous at first. I can't remember what it was you said at the beginning, but I feel like you had said something at the beginning that I was like, oh no. Apparently you like CB radio movies too.
I guess so. Well, I mean, 1 for 2.
I think we agreed on Joyride, didn't we? Or did we not? We did. It is on my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't recall agreeing with that.
Candy cane.
I think I didn't like that movie, but okay.
Well, you think wrong. The list tells no lie.
I guess I liked it. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. And I am probably never going to watch it again, but it will stick with me, and I will always have a little bit more fear of being kidnapped. So thank you.
If we happen to be hanging out, Gab, and I had it on already, would you be like, oh, shut this off? Or would you be like, oh?
I'd sit there and watch it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Did you also, did you really like the moment, though, where he duct tapes the guy to the seat?
I did. It was very satisfying.
I think that's my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. It was great. Dylan, say the things.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at movieswatchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com. You can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You can find our friends from the
Hall of Pods
podcasting network in the link tree below. And you can also find our link tree below, where you can find Gab's Venmo and Strength Code Fitness, the clothing brand started by Gab and Corey.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. Dylan, I will see you next time.
You shall. And if not, I demand that you look through the desert for me.
Will do. No problem.
What's that? You want me to stop? You really want me to stop? Because I'll bet this baby stops on a fucking dime.